If you've been an anime fan for any amount of time, you probably know one of the biggest issues facing the anime industry right now is animator pay, a lot of corruption, a lot of crunch, all these things that really do bog down the system and make you feel bad for enjoying the thing that you enjoy so much. So many anime titles that come out that you like, this looks amazing, and then you find out, oh yeah, by the way, the person that's working behind it hasn't slept for an entire week. But things may be changing around the corner. Hopefully, as we've seen 4 major companies within the anime sphere come together to create a new company that could possibly change that. Or at least that's their goals. Aniplex, along with its animation studio Cloverworks, have joined forces with Wit Studio and Shueisha to form JOEN. This is said to be a creative company that offers everything from planning to production. Now, looking at their website, they state that Cloverworks and Wit Studio will work together to utilize their strengths to the fullest across an entire production process, from the planning stages to the final product. As we, JOEN, will be involved in every step of the creative process, we will be able to ensure that the final product will be high quality and produced with the values and the target business in mind. In addition, our collaboration with Cloverworks and Wit Studio, we also intend to use the industry connections provided by them to expand our scope and collaborate with various studios, producers, and creators to build a framework that allows us to prioritize those involved in the production process. Rather than moving all the processes through a singular company, we will seek to match the best production lines and creators to each project. In addition, we will also provide aid through financial support, creating an environment for these projects to flourish and more. Now, what I'm getting from this, and something we probably need to establish right now, is this isn't these studios and these companies becoming JOEN. These companies will still exist. There's no way that Shueisha is like, let's just become this company. No, Shueisha is huge. We're talking like Shonen Jump huge. And I mean, that's equally with Aniplex. All these companies have their own thing. They're not becoming JOEN. JOEN is a new company they're forming, which they will be staffing, that is essentially going to oversee all this stuff. And what I think is, and obviously the big thing that a lot of people will state right off the bat is, that's just basically creating a permanent production committee. That's sort of what it is. Let's be honest. It essentially is a production committee that has its hands in everything. Typically with a production committee, it's the forming of multiple companies that will be funding a project, and they have the pretty much the oversight of a lot of things. But this is really something that has its hands in everything to make sure everything's working and functioning properly. The problem we really see in the anime industry right now is that you have one of these production committees, but they're not really overseeing things, and in often cases they're asking for things that a studio just can't really perform. Their expectations are high, and the timeline they're given is very short. What I'm kind of seeing, and I guess a test bed would be, is Shueisha could say, hey, we're looking to make something in the future that is one of our best-selling mangas. So that would then go to JOEN, and JOEN would go, okay, now we need to start planning this out. If they're going to want this animated, we'll start to put this together and get the right people in place that we need in order to get something done. And I think with a lot of the discussion here recently about companies having leaks, this is probably a good thing, because they can let them know long beforehand that something needs to be done, and they can pre-plan for a studio to produce something, and so they don't have to crunch. They don't have to work and schedule to push something out very quickly. And additionally, because they're all a part of the same company, there's benefit to them paying their animators properly. If somebody from Cloverworks is a part of this whole process, if Wit Studio is a part of this whole process, more of that money can be funded to the right places. It's not just one production committee giving a little bit of money just to the heads of the studio, and then it never gets down the animators. They can have the well-being of everybody in play. And yes, you can kind of situate who can properly animate what, and you have more tools at your disposal. Again, at face value, everything here looks like this could definitely change the anime industry as we see it. No longer having production committees, publishers, studio, and they just kind of work away from each other, but rather being more involved with each other so things are properly done. And so why I say a lot of that stuff, let's get into the vision of JOEN. It says, now, more than ever, high quality animation is vital to the success of creative works. Amen? As such, animation studios have begun to play a greater role in a production process, simultaneously shouldering the growth and demands and expectations that accompany it. I would argue that animation studios have always been the greater role. That's what we see. That's what the consumer themselves have always seen. We don't see Shueisha. We don't see Aniplex we see Cloverworks. And that's kind of one of those weird statements. I guess it might have been just a rough translation. Who knows? This is their EN site, by the way. But honestly, what they could be meaning here is the idea that these studios are trying to do more, possibly so that they can gain more of that value. Doing originals and stuff like that, trying to bring all these projects upon themselves and doing a lot of work that maybe they were not really fit for. We've seen Cloverworks just jump into the mainstream and really shove themselves into the limelight through a lot of their works recently, and what we've seen from the background coming out to the public was overworking. People expectations of animators that they could not fill, even though they did their they did their best and it looked fantastic. Let's see, like we all remember we all remember Wonder Egg Priority. That was phenomenally animated, and it's just they struggled for it. Even if the final product or the company that created said product is successful, it can be difficult to distribute the profits among the staff, creators, and those involved in the animation studio. This is an odd statement, honestly, and coming from a group that is partially formed by 2 animation studios. All I can think about is that this is a sign that they acknowledge that they're not paying their animators properly. And it can be done. Let's be perfectly honest. Paying these animators more can be done. What is our prime example of this? Kyoto Animation. Kyoto Animation is known far and wide in the anime sphere as being the company that is like the pinnacle of animation. If I wanted to become an animator, I would probably want to go to Kyoto Animation because all signs point to that their animators are paid a lot better, maybe not phenomenally, but a lot better than anywhere else. And yet they still have amazing quality coming out of there. They're doing something right. And I think this is an acknowledgement of that we can do this and that we should do this. And this is our quote right here of the promise of the future, that we could possibly see a lot of these people out of Cloverworks, a lot of people out of Wit Studio that are saying, yeah, they're taking care of us. I really do hope for that to be in the future. And I think why they're able to say that is because, yes, JOEN is essentially a production committee that is going to be handling all this stuff, but they're going to have their hands in it more. And you won't have this money being funneled into, record studios and stuff like that are part of typical production committees. If you have Shueisha right there, who has plenty of content to work with, plenty of properties for them to animate, that means they're more closely involved. And so there's less stuff to have to funnel out and probably more money they can put into the animators. Let's be honest. That is, I think, the goal here. This is what I think the goal is here. To bring about change to the present situation, we aim to collaborate with these studios to build a new business model wherein profits are directed back to the creators. To nourish the production of high-quality animation, we as a production company would like to lay down a foundation for a long, prosperous future wherein creators can produce animation comfortably. There's the second line right there. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is 2 paragraphs so far that literally say, we want to make sure that everybody involved in the creation process is comfortable. We want to make sure that all of them are paid properly. Not somebody paid pennies and barely living in a very small apartment. Comfortably. And again, this is technically them saying they want to shake the foundation of the anime industry. And this is the exciting thing. If this works, if they're true in this is a lot of bold. They don't have to state all this stuff. If they were just creating a random production committee and they're going to pay the animators like they usually do, why would they bother doing this? They're going out of their way to create this website, to create a statement, both in multiple languages. By the way, they have an English site. They want the world to know we're changing things. And I don't see them doing that unless they actually planned on that. We aspire to introduce a new structure for those involved in the creation of animation by creating an environment that allows the continuous production of high quality animation while ensuring studios and creators are rewarded in line with what they're produced. And again, I think this is where I'm shifting my mindset of exactly what this is meant to be. Like I said, yes, the joke is that this is basically a production committee. This is a producer. But the idea is that they have their hands really inside of these companies and they're able to push people around where they need them to get products done. But more importantly, ensuring that there's a constant pipeline of what they can do. Again, the issue is that you have these producers that finally decide one day, we need to advertise this new manga. It's doing so well and it could do better. So we need a company to animate it. So they'll go and they'll make a production committee and they'll find a studio and they go, hey studio, we want you to animate this manga. And the studio's like, sure, okay, when do you need it? Tomorrow. okay, and then they go crunch and they start working out an animation. They throw it out there so that everybody can see it. They get that PV out there, and then like the following day they're making the first episode. They're crunching and they're rushing to get something out. When you have such a disconnect between the companies that want to advertise and want to make a animation of their product, and you have the studios that are never knowing that that's going to happen until it happens, you have a crunch, you have a rush to happen. And I think that this will allow them to really be in communication constantly about what they want in the future. And so they can pre-plan. And additionally, there's a constant flow of content coming to them. Shueisha can keep giving that same two companies what they need in order to keep producing and going forward. They don't have these stretches of not possibly having something to animate. They always have a flow of income coming in, and that could possibly be much more beneficial to the animators. You might not have studios trying to hold back their salaries because they're worried they might not have something to produce. I mean, on their site, they said the company origin. They actually explain how to pronounce JOEN, which I guess is supposed to be join. It's supposed to be JOEN, like join us, but it's JOEN. I don't know, join. One of the two. Finally, they say we strive to support the animation industry and related ventures by taking a supporting role and allowing the people involved in planning, production, and distribution to take center stage. We'd like to rise to the challenge to establish a new framework for the animation industry through cooperation with those who help us accomplish this goal. Supporting creativity, empowering creators. Again, everything here really does sound extremely positive. And like I said, to go out of their way to put this website up that says exactly what they plan on doing tells me that's their goal. This is a statement. It is important to note, because I know that a lot of statements out right now are people going, anything Aniplex touches is going to fail. This is probably a bunch of empty promises. It is interesting to note that the company representatives are the producers of both Wit Studio and Cloverworks. We have Yuichi Fukushima and Tatsuya Nakatake, so it's a little bit more positivity there as well. But again, yes, I acknowledge that this could be just a bunch of fluff, that they could be doing all this stuff just to get attention to them. I just don't know why they would go this far just to get some attention when they could easily just say, hey, there's 4 big companies coming together to make anime. They don't have to state any of this stuff. Saying Wit Studio and Cloverworks and Aniplex and Shueisha are involved is enough to get attention. There's no necessity for them to do all this stuff to get attention. I'm positive on this. I really do think this is a great thing. Honestly, Cloverworks and Wit Studio have made a name for themselves. And unfortunately, with that name for themselves was a lot of backlash. There was a lot of question marks as to how much work these studios are having to do, how much these animators are having to do to get this stuff done. Like I mentioned earlier, Cloverworks during Wonder Egg Priority had a lot of question marks flying towards them. And they somehow managed to pull through it, and I give their animators a lot of credit for that. But now again, I think this is an effort to make sure that that is not happening anymore. That we can pull away the crunch and we can give people the proper funding they need to get stuff done. And I think honestly, with Takt Opus Destiny and now with Spy X Family, I think they've been test bedding this for quite a while to really have this idea of how they can function with multiple companies at the same time. Now again, I don't think that was when JOEN is now, but I think back then these studios were really seeing this as a possibility that we can do this. And again, it takes a lot of load off of us. Additionally, keep in mind the other positive that can come from this is having JOEN being essentially a company that is formed by these 4 companies is a lot of the profits that typically doesn't see the animators can start coming back to them. The one big argument that we always have is that a producer will come to a studio and say, hey, adapt this manga. And they go, okay, we'll adapt that manga. And then it takes off. And guess what? The studio, even though they put all the effort into producing a beautiful product, they don't see any of the benefit from it. The mangas does, because they're just creating an advertisement for the thing that's going to sell and make a fortune. This is a possibility that a lot of benefits can come back to them for that. This is speculation, probably won't happen, but just consider the idea that, say, Shueisha has a new big shonen, and they're like, we need to make an anime for this thing so we can sell more of this manga. And so they go to JOEN, and JOEN assigns Cloverworks to produce an anime based on the first few chapters. And guess what? It takes off, and they see millions of copies start selling the moment episode 1 airs. There's a possibility at that point that some of that money, that profit, could come back to Cloverworks as like a thank you, like a bonus. You did good, it did well, here's a little extra cash. This is the kind of stuff this opens the door for. And this is stuff that a lot of people have been asking for a long time, and I'm excited for it. I really do have a lot of hope this could be a positive thing for the future of anime, and that more studios will see this and they'll join in, and we can see this benefit happening with the publishers, the license holders essentially, and the studios all working together to, one, schedule things better, avoid crunch, and again, funnel that money back to the animators that is necessary to do it comfortably and get paid right. But that's my thoughts on this whole thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, give me your thoughts on the whole situation. Subscribe if you have not already. And if you would like to support us additionally, we have a Patreon link and a tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.